Okay, so talking about indigenous beliefs, and well, I'm going to begin with indigenous beliefs. One of the most prevalent, one of the biggest beliefs in indigenous people in Guyana is the belief of a being called Makanaima, who is, the maker of all things. But Kanaima being his total opposite, being the evil spirit. And this is one of the most strongest beliefs, because everything stems from that. Different beliefs about smaller things in the world, like why it is that a girl goes through what she does, or how a man grows up, things like that. How you should fish, how you should carry about your daily life. Um, like what time you wake up, things like that. All of these things stem from just these two beings that we very much believe in. And the belief of evil spirits is one of the strongest beliefs, because seeing bad things happen around us, we tend to have a reason for that. Like just the top of my head, why it is you shouldn't go out later than why you shouldn't climb a tree later than 6, and things like this, small beliefs like that. Slowly they've gone into being myths now, but that's the general belief of indigenous people. Um, from beliefs would stem our traditions, and how we do certain things. One of the traditions that I remember very well is during Christmas. What happens is that, not during Christmas, just after Christmas, just going out into the New Year's, you want to cleanse yourself of all the bad things that you did throughout the year, or something like that. Um, there's like this kind of woven basket, sort of, but it's flat, it's plain, and we put like these really huge ants in the holes in it, and you put it on various parts of your body, and it stings you. That's just like one of our traditions, like to cleanse ourselves for the new year. It's really amazing. Or even or during any time of the year, for a matter of fact, if a parent believes that their child is, being bad or misbehaving, they do that to them, to to straighten them, or to things like that. We we're also very much dependent on the land, of course, as indigenous people. So our traditions generally revolve around uh, planting farms, or fishing most of the times. Well, because it's Guyana, there's a lot of rivers around the place, so fishing is generally, and the way in which we fish as well. We use various plants and roots to help us fish. That's thunderfish, and that's one of the uses of how we use plants and things like that. But we also use plants for medicine, mostly in the form of leaves. You take leaves and you put it in water and you boil it, and sometimes you drink it. But most of the times, I've heard it from my grandmother that the older folks would also believe in bathing with it as well, with the water in which you boil the leaf. Um, yeah, leaves being the more prevalent thing used in medicine form. Um, the fruit of a plant is not really used that much, and the roots are mostly used to be eaten. Um, our language has come a long way. I guess you can say it's only been written down probably in the early 1900s by the colonizers. Before, it was just strictly, spoken. No one bothered to write it down. But it's. I think it's very much related to the other indigenous languages around the world. It's very much different dialects, and so the dialects sound very much like other. Listening to other indigenous people, I've heard that they're very much the same as to the people in Guyana, the indigenous people in Guyana. Um, Random. a random example of it would be me telling you my name. I say Ngarda Kyle, right? That's me saying my name is Kyle. And it's, well, now it's written with the English language, of course, and it's very old. It sounds very old, but that's the most I can describe it as. Um, for on the topic of our influence from the from the colonizers, um, they it started with the church, going into the far-flung villages and converting most of them to Catholic, but most people to Catholic, but still, I mean, in terms of our houses, they still have remained pretty much the same, with some people now building European style houses. Um, of course, the clothes, things like that. Although we still try to wear our traditional clothing at special events, um, but I think we didn't have that much influence by the colonizers as persons say living on the coast of Guyana, because they were closer to the colonizers. But us being far away, we just had like a few things here and there from the colonizers, like a couple of things like how you dress, um, or some mannerisms as well. In our language, we don't have a word for thank you or sorry or things like this. So I think these are very much influenced by the colonizers, and this idea of having to find a job now, I think is very much a European kind of thing. But before, everyone used to carry out their daily lives just by just by living, just by going to the farm or fishing and things like that. So I think while the effect wasn't that great, there was still some effect to some degree by the colonizers.